hunt is on. There's no going back now. It's in your blood. A primal need that must be met. It drives you. It consumes you. It takes you to the edge. What was once a simple pastime has now become your addiction. This season, come share the excitement with a group of fellow whitetail addicts from Lone Wolf. Learn from their time-tested techniques, as well as their mistakes, and be there to experience firsthand the highs and the lows we've all come to thrive on. They are do-it-yourselfers just like you. Their season begins the moment the last one ends. And when it comes time to release an arrow, they come up big. This is Whitetail Addictions. This week on Whitetail Addictions, we're heading to Chandlerville, Illinois to track down the lone wolf himself, Andrae D'Acquisto. In Season 1, Andrae was filming his own hunt when he shot this giant buck that ended up outscoring his own number 2 Wisconsin state record bow kill. Then, in Season 2, Andrae topped his own personal best again. But this time, it was a 201-inch giant from the big buck state of Illinois. How does a hunter top harvesting 2 giant bucks like these? Well, if you're the lone wolf, you do it by shooting an even bigger one. Watch the hunt for this 211-inch monster this week on Whitetail Addictions.
Well, what can I say? This year, Season 3, the best year ever. I don't know how the heck I was going to top it, but starting out with Season 1, harvesting a Boone and Crockett that actually at the time was a new number 2 for the state. Then the next year, harvesting a buck that was one of a world-class typical. Grossed him at 197, had it officially scored now, and ended up it was a 201 and some change. Topped the bar again, and then having pictures in a shed of a buck that I figured would crack that 200-inch mark. And I've had a pipe dream all my life about shooting a 200-inch typical with a bow. Believe it or not, I got trail camera pictures of a deer that'll probably just be that next year. And he made it through gun season. A neighbor found some sheds, and it's going to be a long, tough year. Normally fishing fills the gap, setting up food plots, keeping as busy as I can to the following season is the game plan. But I'm having dreams about that buck right now, and I'm being tortured already. So that score of 204 and some change, I think, is somebody's going to get it. I think it's getting pretty close to it, and hopefully I'll get one last shot at that deer, and I'll be the lucky one to do it.
Welcome back to Whitetail Addictions. In the early part of 2007, Andrae and his oldest son, Cody, found a set of shed antlers from a buck that they'd nicknamed the Flyer Buck because of a few sticker points coming off the back of the deer's rack.
Well, the deer that we nicknamed the Flyer Buck, we had the sheds from last year. We had quite a few pictures of that buck, and he looked like he was in the 170-ish range last year. We were getting photos of him on scrapes on a daily basis, and Cody actually thought I was holding out on him. He said, "Dad, why aren't we hunting that buck?" And all the pictures were after dark, so it would be a waste of time until they started coming out a little earlier, and he never did that. He just always seemed to be working those scrapes after dark. But to tell the truth, deep down inside me, I thought, man, if that deer could make it another year, it'd be world class. And it just ended up being that. The next year came around. We were checking photos all through the summer months, and all of a sudden we got some good pictures of him. And I couldn't believe the increase that the deer had from one year to the next. We were thinking that deer was going to make the 200-inch mark.
Even though his focus for the 2007 season was going to be the Flyer Buck, Andrae had been getting some trail camera pictures of some other great deer. including this bruiser he nicknamed the Browtine buck. And with 2 buck tags in his pocket, he knew he'd gladly wrap one of them around this buck's headgear. When the opening day of the Illinois archery season arrived, Andrae was still missing a crucial piece of the puzzle, the exact location the flyer buck was bedding. So instead of taking any chances, Andrae dove into a different area for opening morning and came face to face with this great Illinois whitetail. Even though this was a great buck, Andrae was content with passing on the buck and capturing the mature animal with his video camera.
You can see I just passed a pretty nice buck, 150, 60-ish. A couple of small bucks came through this morning. The deer are hammering the acorns. There's a good mass crop this year, and that's what I'm going to set my goal on here is water and acorns for this first week. I don't know if you noticed that buck there had a lot of the same characteristics of that big deer I shot last year. Long G2s and 3s and the same configuration, the main beam. He's going to be a whopper if he gets through the season without one of the kids whacking him.
Early on in the season, opening week, I had the kids down. They were both hunting, my daughter and son. She got onto a pretty good buck. Came out just at dark, and she was cold and kind of locked up on it. Cody's seen quite a few bucks. Obviously, there were some decent ones on there, so he was passing up quite a few bucks early. And I was doing most of the filming. None of the kids got lucky enough to get anything. They had to go back because of school. And now I knew it was getting close to my time to be able to hunt, and I was really excited about it because the last couple of days Cody had spotted that big flyer buck. And I looked at the video and I couldn't believe the size of the rack. It was an absolute monster. Came out at dark. While chasing that big one around, I was more or less manipulating that spot on evening post and really didn't want to do anything. I had him pinned down. I figured I'd try and get him in the evening and not mess with that bedding area because it was so close to being able to knock him somewhere I couldn't get. So I decided to hunt a couple of the other deer that were on the farm in the mornings. So I'd hunt that deer in the evenings, and being an Illinois resident, had 2 tags, decided to hunt another really good spot that I had in the mornings.
On a crisp morning hunt, Andrae slid into a tree stand along an active scrape line that bordered a picked cornfield. And with deer moving good on the chilly morning, Andrae hoped to get a look at one of the mature bucks he knew was working the area.
picture perfect setup. I mean, this thing is smashed. I have no idea when it happened. You've got to be kidding me, man.
Whitetail Addictions will be right back. Welcome back to Whitetail Addictions. After replacing the smashed pin on his sight and a little target practice with the Lobo, Andrae was back in the game. Andrae quickly checked his Predator trail cameras, and with some new shots of the flyer buck now working his scrape line during daylight hours, Andrae knew it was time to make a move on the flyer buck. After a few days of bouncing around, hunting the fringes of the flyer buck's bedding area, Andrae was able to capture this footage of the giant buck heading to his scrape line one evening well out of bow range. With a prior commitment that was going to take him out of town the next few days, Andrae knew that after the buck moved off, this would be the perfect opportunity to slide right into the big buck's bedroom and locate the exact spot for a morning ambush. And with a severe thunderstorm moving in that evening, he knew the rain would wash away any traces of scent that he might leave behind that could tip the big buck off to his presence. Andrae was anxious about getting back to Illinois to hunt the flyer buck. And the morning he returned, he had a perfect wind and dove into the bedding area stand he'd set up before leaving town. After sunup, Andrae noticed some fresh sign right in front of his stand, a good sign that the giant was still using the area. As Andrae filmed this nice buck moving through the timber, he caught movement in the distance, and it was the flyer buck. Andrae was only able to film the giant for a few moments before his battery ended up dying on him. By the time he was able to change the battery pack, the flyer buck had moved to within 20 yards of the hunter's position and bedded down behind some thick brush, not offering a shot or a clear view with the camera. Andrae was prepared to wait the buck out all day if need be. That is, until the unexpected happened.
I hit that flyer buck at about 18 yards, came in and bedded down. No spot to get an arrow through. This is where he's been bedding and exiting this little woodlot. In the evenings, some dogs came in, chased the deer off.
Andrae hunted the bedding area stand again that evening, just in case the flyer buck came back through. Unfortunately, all that showed were some does. Knowing he hadn't spooked the big buck, Andrae figured he had another chance the following morning. As daylight began to filter into the bedding area, Andrae heard the unmistakable sound of a deer approaching.
That's that flyer buck I've been chasing. Whitetail, I got that on video. I didn't know if I had the screen, the camera pointed enough. I couldn't wait. He turned in toward me. I thought he was gonna come down the hill sideways. I don't even know where the hell I hit him. We'll get down and look for blood in a little bit. We'll give him all time.
Whitetail Addictions will be right back.
Has this ever happened to you? You're scouting a particular area and you finally find that hot spot you want to hang your trail camera. You quickly look around, there's nothing straight. You begin to fumble and mess around with your camera to try and make the one tree you have work for you, and it just ain't cutting it. Well, the new undercover trail camera from Lone Wolf has a built-in 360-degree auto-lock leveling system that will solve that problem in any situation.
This week's hunting tactic.
I've been using trail cameras for quite some time now. I find it to be a really valuable tool. This year I took it to another level, figuring I'd get more cameras, put them out, and it'd be less and less work for me to do. The information you get is unbelievable. In a whole year of scouting, you couldn't get all that info. Getting information on a deer before the season start is probably my most valuable asset of a camera. I don't want to have to make a split-second decision on if that deer is big enough or it's the one. I know that going in, so when I identify that deer, I can get in that kill mode. I can get ready to take them. That's a lot of pressure. Having a deer coming in, you're looking. I made the mistake this year. I shot a deer I thought would net over 170, and he had a broken tine. If I had more pictures of that deer just before that incident, I might have known that, and I would have backed off and let that deer go another year.
Welcome back to Whitetail Addictions. After not seeing the buck go down and not knowing exactly where he'd hit the giant buck, Andrae backed out and gave the buck time to expire. Unsure about his shot, Andrae waited till later that day to begin tracking the huge buck, and with the help of his neighbor, Darrell Holliday, found the giant deer in a deep ravine a couple hundred yards from where the shot took place.
This buck we nicknamed the flyer buck. Obviously, we had a shed last year of them, and the drop tines and stuff were up off the G2. My son found a shed late season last year, and we set our sights on this deer for this year. I wanted to say thanks to Darrell Holliday, and thanks to Cody. He actually could have been hunting this deer. He was the first one that videoed it this year, and he knew how I had my heart set on harvesting this deer, and he actually backed off and said, "Dad, go ahead, take it to it." So appreciate it, and I think this deer, I put a tape to it. It's about 211 gross. Be my personal best.